All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having yourselves a fantastic start to your Tuesday. And yeah, welcome back to what should hopefully be a pretty interesting trading day. All right, welcome back to your Wednesday. I hope you had a great Tuesday. And yeah, hope you're ready and excited for what should hopefully be another relatively interesting trading day. Don't know where my NQ prep went. All right. Well, yeah. Anyway, first things first, right? Economic calendar here this morning. Not anything too crazy. The bond auction maybe this afternoon could be a little bit interesting after the jobs data there that we had on Friday, and then the Fed speak here today. I mean, shouldn't really be something of significant interest, at least to us. But yeah, hopefully it kind of stays out of the way, or at least like markets aren't waiting for those narratives. And then crude oil inventories here, right? Like every Wednesday. So yeah, well, let's get after it here, team. Not too much to go about. Oh, actually, yesterday was a really strong trading day, right? We had pretty good follow through. We got a great bit of PNL. It's a really clean move. So no complaints from that perspective. What I want to make sure, right, is that we're applying effectively like a 24-hour rule to that trade, and we're not like bringing that into today's session, right? So just because we had a nice win there yesterday doesn't mean we're going to get another one here today, and it certainly doesn't mean that every move is going to move that way. The other just like little, I guess, reminder, right, or from personal experience, I should say, like the trades where I allow my P&L to like influence me, or like I'm thinking about that win, or I'm thinking about that loss, or I'm thinking about like a specific target, or like a personal achievement. When that is in the front of my head as I'm placing trades, or as I'm getting ready to execute, I make bad decisions. I start to get really emotional, right? I start to, compound mistakes. I start to like self sabotage effectively my success. And so that's why I have that 24-hour rule. It's okay. Yeah, you feel good after the trading day, you enjoy it, but you move on, you go on to the next one. We're not really judged by what we did yesterday. We're not really judged by what we do tomorrow, at least not in the short term. So all we can focus on here, right, is being present, being deliberate, and executing our rules. If we start to allow our P&L to create ego, or to create fear or greed, then all of a sudden we're no longer going to make good decisions. We're no longer going to be executing our strategy as well as we need to. And we're going to go from being traders to being gamblers who are willing to basically test any idea, any thesis, any impulse, right, that the market generates for them. And that never is a way to make money here long term. So obviously really stoked for everyone and the team there yesterday. But 24-hour rule here, guys. Fresh day, fresh new session, fresh new set of circumstances. So let's be deliberate. Let's control the variables we can control. And let's put ourselves in a situation where we follow our rules. Because when we do that there consistently, that's what makes us the money. So let's focus on that, not trying to swing for the biggest home run here this AM. All right. So with that being said, let's start mapping things out and figure out what we want to do here today. So first thing here on ES, right? Red candle, increasing volume, gap up. A little bit of a fake out right above that Friday high. And then now we're starting to push back down here towards some of those lows. Now, yesterday was a bearish day, but it wasn't necessarily like crazy volume, right? Like if it was that strong, I probably would have expected maybe a little bit more follow through here to the downside, and at least gotten back maybe like 50, 60, 70% of that inside bar. I think the fact that we're still sort of consolidating or hanging out in the upper third of that range probably indicates to me that it's either like a fake out environment, right? Where again, we really want to be waiting for one side to fail first. And then if it isn't that, then it's probably like a day of consolidation, right? Or a day of just kind of like choppy price action until it can kind of separate away from some of these like magnetic zones. So that's sort of my expectation, probably very similar type backdrop to what we had there yesterday. And if we can avoid the first trade we took there yesterday, it's an even better day, right? So I think if we just wait for that fake out or that failure first, maybe is a better description, that's probably going to give us an opportunity to trade things in either direction, because I'm effectively expecting kind of like this to be the range, right? So almost like these two candles here are a little bit of the outlier within that context, and we're using this previous, we'll say like 2 weeks of price action as kind of our support zone here in the short term. So to the upside, we're looking 63.60. And we'll just say and too early in the morning to spell big words. So we're looking 63.60 here as our starting point to the upside. Not too different than what we had there yesterday. Again, I'll keep those other levels there just because that keeps my life a little bit easier. And then to the downside here, we're basically looking for a crack through, I mean, ultimately probably 300, right? That would probably be the best indication that we've got really good momentum to keep pushing lower. In the short term, that's probably going to be probably too aggressive as our first target. So I'd say 63.10 as our starting point here to the downside. And then we're basically just looking to fill it in 10 points along the way towards that Friday low. That makes sense? And then again, I'll just keep those numbers mapped out here. I wouldn't expect us to necessarily get that entire move here all today. So maybe it'll just save us some prep here for tomorrow. All right. So similar idea here on NQ, right? Decent volume rejection, but maybe like a little bit. Oh, thank you. That happened. Most complicated prep of all time. All right. NQ. So similar thing here, right? We're going to call this. Actually, let's go. So 2 out of 3 to the downside here with volume, right? Same thing. And we're looking fake outs or consolidation. And then we're looking 400 is going to ultimately be the level. So we're looking probably 23.3, 23.4, and then pushing up towards sort of that 23.9 area. Okay. And then to the downside here, and I'll change this color in a second. And pre-market lows here are say 23,000. And then the low of that Friday range is 22.8. So I mean that's probably a little bit easier for us to get than it is on ES. So then that next secondary point of contact on that trend line is going to be 22.6. So I'll map it out towards there. If you get a trend line breakdown, right, you're kind of going from one point of contact to the next point of contact. So our thesis here a little bit, right, is that this is acting as support on NQ, whereas on ES, we're kind of using this previous like consolidation range as being basically our trigger for that bounce here to the upside. So curious to see basically which story kind of comes together. But I think yesterday, when bulls couldn't basically keep pushing that inside bar to the upside, I think we set ourselves up here a little bit for a consolidation narrative. And I mean, the volatility or the ranges that we have for this are going to be fine, but it's just going to require us to be a little bit patient and to wait for that failure. I think is really going to be the key thing here this morning. Okay, so crude. We've got data this AM at 10:30s. I generally don't like trading CL on inventories day. It's technically bigger volume yesterday there too, and then a gap up that's like pretty much eating up the entire range. This is, I would say, setting up as like a mean reversion setup here to the downside. So I'd probably be the only trade I'd be willing to take here is basically like the size of this gap up is so big, you're basically just looking to fade the gap. It'd be like BB reversal slash yeah, we'll call it mean reversion. Yeah, this would be like I don't know, price action has to be so miserable on ES and NQ and moving so poorly, and the volume is so light that I would be interested in trading this. We've got crude oil inventories data. I'm not super motivated by that or think that it gives us a particularly good edge trading into it. So I would rather focus on the indexes here this morning. Okay, Apple inside bar, double inside bars, quite the volatile setup. Tesla, 2 out of 3 to the downside, weak 2 out of 3. That's a without volume. The higher high, higher low. Microsoft, red candle, gap up. So 1 out of 3. Amazon inside bar. Again, right? Just formal consolidation there yesterday. Nvidia looks like a little bit of a higher high just by like a penny or two. That is increasing volume. So again, we'll call this a week 2 out of 3 to the upside, sorry, to the downside with volume. And we're just going to say higher high plus higher low, right? So bullish characteristics in that candle. That's what that's indicating. AMD crushed on earnings, actually, all things considered. This would be, again, probably a mean reversion type scenario spot. If it is, and we start to get that breakout then on NVIDIA, I think we mentioned yesterday, right? Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA make up 21% of the S&P 500. So if we're getting, big moves there and, we're using maybe AMD as our catalyst for that, that could be our opportunity, right, for some good volatility and some good range here this morning. And so 3 for 3 here to the downside post earnings. Okay, Meta rejection. This one probably looks the most like the indexes, right? But again, still just a 1 for 3, but to the downside this time. Netflix, red candle, increasing volume, not big volume within context, right? But maybe starting to look a little bit like exhaustion. We'll call that weak volume, 2 out of 3 with volume. A little bit of a mouthful. And then Google load volume just increasing. So again, 2 out of 3 to the downside with volume. And then the VIX is hanging out at 17.7. So a little bit higher than what it was at yesterday's open. So again, yesterday with pretty good volatility, pretty good range. Hopefully we get more of the same here this AM. How's everyone feeling? Felt like a bit of a goofy pre-market prep today. Hey, that's absolutely the right thing to do, Mike. Go catch some extra sleep or enjoy life a little bit. No need to trade if you're not feeling your sharpest. Again, just on this 1 minute time frame, watching just to see how clean the first move is. If the first breakout here is clean, that generally gives us an indication here of at least a better trending PA. Like the best breakouts are the ones that like never stop, right? Pretty much. So this could potentially be giving us that pattern we've been talking about here. If I do get to set up, I would just paper trade this. I'm still in that testing phase of it, so I wouldn't put any live capital to this. At the moment, we're kind of seeing like 1 or 2 of these opportunities a week, so it's not enough of a stress test here yet to be super confident that it's the right move. That would be it. So now the way that it would set up here, right, would be like this, right? So you'd be looking 241 target entry, 174 or better stop loss on a breakdown under low of day. If you're going to get the aggressive, right, it's not going to work out from a position sizing perspective. So at this point, this becomes just like a waiting game to basically see if you can get a pullback into that area. Doesn't seem like it's going to happen here this morning, and we're seeing a pretty enthusiastic bit of price action here, honestly, to start the session off. So I would be more interested in probably focusing here on basically just trading our current ORB strategy, because it seems like that's going to have a few more opportunities here by the looks of it, or at least based off of the intensity here off the open. So still got a little bit of work to do on that. And we'll get there eventually, and certainly not interested in chasing things or rushing. The way that those breakouts are moving certainly seems a little bit more indicative of a early opportunity than maybe I was expecting. So rather watch that price action, contextualize it correctly, and then go from there. And CL still stalling out a little bit, but these would be the Bollinger Bands, right? So when we're trading BB reversals, you're going from top band to midline or bottom band to midline, right? So in this situation, I don't have a setup for it here yet, but that would be your target there. That's 65.27. Let's keep this up as a reference. Kind of interesting. The first kind of volume bar, very impressive. Looks really solid, like really good momentum. Like no real complaints from that perspective. The second one though, it just like feels disproportionately smaller. And there's our first breakout attempt on the old ES. Again, this is probably going to require a little bit of patience for us. We're going to get a setup here, right? But we're going to fail from a confirmation standard. The volume isn't going to be enough, right? For me. Now we should, well, maybe I've jinxed it, but did feel like for a second there we were definitely going to be closing above the opening range. So now we're going to be looking for high vol separation away from it, right? If that occurs, albeit in the looking a lot less likely than it was 15 seconds ago. I'm also like looking at this a little bit. I'm not sure if I can quantify that yet as a failure. Like I didn't feel like that rejection was like super enthusiastic. Yeah, so if the stream is full, right, then you can still just watch it on YouTube. The alternative link is there, or the secondary link is there. It's the exact same stream. So you're more than welcome to use that. The recommendation is to use the Discord audio YouTube video in that circumstance. Okay, so now we're starting to see something. This would be your spot for that 1 min entry. All right, I'm gonna try. I'm just gonna paper trade it, guys. Right, I'm just gonna paper trade it. Stop loss 152. You know, I have a paper trade on that at 165.75. Stop loss 152. Again, just a paper trade. Nothing serious. Just want to stress test this idea a little bit. And a very volatile candle there. Funny that the one you're not trying very hard for is the one you get a pretty much perfect entry on. Classic. So I'll update you guys there as and when it's appropriate. And this is like a literal paper trade. I've literally just written it down. Okay, increasing volume there to the downside on NQ. On the 3 min now in context, right? Maybe it looks a little bit like a failure, a bit of a deja vu setup to what we had there yesterday. Kind of watching that, a little muted reaction to that fake outs may be a little bit concerning. That 152 I don't think triggered. Okay, so you'd be looking at a stop loss like 172 if we're going to be doing this, but I'm still not. I wouldn't say I'm convinced yet by this pullback. It feels far too bouncy. Like it hasn't felt like weak bulls, right? It's kind of felt more like frothy price action. I don't think frothiness is like a super strong characteristic for trades. Okay, that probably would have been a stop out. That's a little bit of a better reaction. So stop loss would be 173, we'll call it. I want to wait, right? I have no rush to execute this, but I'm starting to set things up a little bit. I almost want to see it close under the opening range low. Again, that's now the second fake out we've seen there prior to thinking about an entry. That's probably not super indicative of giving us a nice trend. Or at the very least, we feel like a little bit range bound between like 148 and 173. Lower low, lower high. Could maybe get tighter risk reward here. Or I'll just jinx it completely. CL not moving. Fine. No interest. Not a good enough reversal candle there on ES, right? That looks more like a doji. So it looks more like a neutral bullish than a second most bullish. Yeah, I think we made a pretty good decision there. All things considered. Yeah, I'm pretty happy we waited for that team. That reaction to those lows did not feel correct. Now we've effectively had like an equal move higher, equal move lower, and then we're back to the middle. A little fake out sucks now. So in my paper trade, right, I'm literally saying faked out on trade lower, right, went down to 148, then pushed to 200. Oh, sorry, excuse me. So I'm creating that like stress test, or I'm creating that backtest information. I'm trying to study those patterns, see what it would like to be execute, right? And then you can kind of refine your rules and refine your focus a little bit, and then test for a say more concrete, right, set of protocols. Like the idea of the pattern basically is really simple. It's basically what's the strongest breakout that could happen? Well, the strongest breakout that happens is on the first candle that there's a chance, right? So opening range establishes the context. The first candle that breaks out, right, kind of tells you maybe who's in control of the tape, right, to a certain extent for the day, or who's control of the price action, probably to be a little bit, yeah, a little bit more accurate, maybe. But strong moves are early moves, right? Generally. So if you get an early breakout, maybe it creates a little bit of a bias for what you'd expect to happen that session. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you know what, guys? I think we kind of nailed our early assessment of what price action was going to do, right? I do think that being a little bit more proactive here this morning and saying that, hey, it's probably a fake out or consolidation market, and literally like forcing myself to see this every time I look at my charts kind of like buys you that extra half breath, right? Extra half second to wait out a decision, to not force something. And who knows, maybe that's like the little extra reminder we needed, right? To not chase an entry that wasn't behaving the right way. Might have a chance here on NQ to the upside. And this should just be a classic ORB move. No 10 a.m. data here today, right? I don't think. It's just 10:30 today, the start. This might also be more likely on the 5. 20 seconds to go. It would need a pretty strong close. 220 probably needs to be the number, I would say, as a bare minimum. Ooh. Market makers are listening here. All right. So we've got a good looking setup, good confirmation, fine. Now we want to see basically that 216.50 hold, right? Or that area. And our reference price, right, would be previous high of day. So we want to see now that act as support. So 216, we'll call it as a stop loss. And we're looking for an entry 228 or better. And we want to see a gentle pullback into that zone. From there, you're risking about 12 points, right? So 240 bucks a contract. Very, very reasonable. In 2 minutes as well, right? If we don't get that entry, we should get the same setup here on the 5-min time frame. So if we don't get our opportunity here, there's an easy like pass on the burden of confirmation here. There's no rush, right? Please don't feel the extra pressure. Let the trade be absolutely perfect. Don't compromise your entry just because you feel like it's going to make a move. I've never entered a trade thinking I'm going to lose money on that. So be patient, right? Okay, a little bit of a too fast pullback there. See how that previous high of day is kind of acting as resistance, right? We're seeing it pull back into it and then it's almost like trampolining off. That's why we're avoiding the entry here right now, right? Is because that blue line ended up pushing price action lower, not kind of catapulting it higher. So this is either setting up here as a potential fake out or as our extended chop region, right? Again, another good decision there for us to have been pretty deliberate. Freaking pain in the ass. but we're saving ourselves money, right, by being very patient here so far. Everyone's still here. I'm the way I'm thinking about it. So I went to schools where I had to wear a uniform. Like I went to Christian schools, and every recess I'd get stains on my pants from playing soccer with my buddies. Everyone still got clean pants here today, or we got grass stains here. Okay, not increasing volume on that 3-min, so I can't trade that as a setup. Love it. Good. I think this type of price action is probably the easiest to get, like, I think, tilted in, because you're getting fast moves that stall quickly. Very easy to like exaggerate bad sensations. Guess what it made though? Made that 1 point, or like that one handle move. Pretty much rejected right at it. That's pretty interesting. CL still not moving. Even 10 a.m. Crazy. Honestly, this is kind of disgusting. You have to really, really just watch, right? That pullback, Chris, right? When we're seeing price pull back into our entry zone, gotta pull back really, really gently, right? That move there at 228, far too aggressive of a pullback for us to justify an entry. I want you to really focus and watch that, right? So like that's the technical reason, or the thing that you need to be focusing in on here. You're watching for a gentle pullback. Like by the time it's getting to our reference price, it should feel as if it's like just walked up 1,000 steps, right? It's got to be like really, really, really slow. It's got to be panting. It's um yeah, like it's got to be going to its doctor after and trying to get diagnosed for gout. Like it's just not moving well. And if it's moving too quickly, you don't want it. It's too aggressive, or it's not the right reaction. You want to be always seeing the weak opposite side of whatever trade you're on, right? So You want to see weak bulls or weak bears or whatever the context is. And that has to be the priority, because it doesn't mean that your thesis is wrong. It just means that your timing is likely to be incorrect. And I think there's probably nothing more frustrating than getting faked out of a trade that ends up running, and like, 2 minutes later you're back up above your entry price. But the price action we've seen here all morning so far has been exactly what we've just seen on this last candle. It's like give you a little bit of hope that a breakout is coming, and then it just like spits in your face and goes all the way back. Like yeah, there's mixed signals, right? Like from this market, it's mixed signals. And we're setting up here for potential breakout. But like, I want to be so strict here. It's got to hold 241. Again, good volume, but lack to complete the reasonable confirmation standard. It's just getting wiki bullshit here at these highs. And this honestly feels like the thesis. It's like make a really quick move within like 5 points of the high, then struggle crazily at the high, fake out, and then 30-point dump instantly, but not on enough volume to turn it into a signal or into anything reasonable. CL, I'm not really interested in trading it until crude oil inventories data, right? That drops at 10:30, and it just sets you up to basically get these like random huge positioning trades, or whatever it is. Basically, the reality here is that as a retail trader going into this data window, I'm pretty much going to be like the last person in the world that gets this or can like behave off of this information. So I just have zero edge trading the positioning play here pretty much, because this is just like a fuck you order by someone, honestly, for lack of a better term. They're like trying to create chaos with this. So yeah, that's basically exactly why I'm trying to avoid it here today. Like price discovery on CL here today is less organic than it usually is. Not to suggest that it's like fully manipulated, but I need to put this nicely. Royal Dutch Shell and all these petroleum companies, they've got their own trading desks too, right? Somebody always knows, and someone's always able to be positioned beforehand. Us, the retail trader in this environment, we're not getting those phone calls. You know what? That was a long opening 30 minutes. Maybe ES giving us a little bit of a rejection. This appears to be potentially the largest volume of the day. Not going to quite be it, but that's impressive. Okay, NQ gave me a decreasing volume, so pretty much is only ES. Again, base assumption here, right? Fake out until proven otherwise. Shitty price action until proven otherwise, right? No base expectation that this is going to be an easy trade or an easy move. All we've seen here so far is like price action is basically just Oz the Mentalist, right? It's pulling tricks we've never seen before. Again, maybe that's a little bit dramatic, but this a complete total wrong reaction you'd want to see right on this. This is a high vol confirmation breakdown candle, and it pulls back 5-6 points in 45 seconds. I can't trade that. You know what it's like? I didn't have super strong expectations for price action here today, but it's like that meme where it's like, oh my gosh, my expectations for you were low, but oh my gosh, like this is horrific. That's what it feels like right now. And we like to see breakout basically above these fake outs, right? Invalidate the indecision. Yes, that's maybe a little bit harder now on the upside. Okay. Now we're watching this right on the 3-min. We have that outlier volume standard. So the only missing ingredient, right, is a close above that blue line. We need to see here. Base expectation is it fails because that's all we've seen, or doesn't create it right on the 3-min. It did not. So now we just pass on that burden of confirmation here to the 5, and now we wait to see if we get the same standard. We're a little bit further away from a volume perspective, right? So maybe it might struggle to get there a little bit, but we're still well on pace to accomplish it. So let's see if we can get a smooth move. On ES, not quite, right? Same thing, kind of that failure at the highs. So no real separation away from that fake out zone or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, now we're waiting, say $1.20 to go. And we got decent work to do from a volume perspective. I would say, all things considered, pretty strong volume here, like volume profile to start the day, but it very much feels like high volume indecision. All right, 50 seconds. Got to close above the blue line. Okay, 20 seconds to go, and we're watching that volume profile like a hawk, right? This is what's got to go increasing here. We've got a good breakup, but we need to see that volume support this narrative. This is going to be tight. And again, volume is a binary. Either it hits our targets or it doesn't. This circumstance, it did not. Now we're looking maybe to turn this into a 2-candle confirmation. We have that volume support, or ideally, right, we see a candle establish that narrative here for us somewhere. But it's just the same old, right? Price action we've seen here all morning. Same characteristics, right? Even though it's different shapes. So lots of compromises, nothing here that's quite A plus. Not ready to chase anything here until it's just beyond perfect. So this will be my next opportunity here, right? 4 seconds, see a strong close. And then we're targeting 348, pretty decent move. Okay. And so I'll be patient here, right? Be patient, watch. Again, we've only seen fake outs, right? So base expectations, we probably see a couple more of them. Okay, better. So for now, I'd say stop loss is 272. Right, for that long. And we're going to be watching here very carefully, watching very carefully. Okay, so now I want to see a gentle pullback here. I'm not sure if that was gentle enough here. Just be patient. Better. Okay. It's stalling a little bit here again, right? I'm not sure if that's the enthusiasm I'm looking for. Stalling just a little bit. I don't think it's the right reaction here yet. That's all good. Very much a deja vu, right? Price pretty much did the exact same thing it did last time. Same reaction, right? So sorry about maybe not communicating as that as clearly as I could have, team. But for me, it didn't quite feel like the right reaction or the right like enthusiasm. So it kind of felt like a little bit pathetic. Does feel a little bit maybe like this has to be a buy the fake out type day. Like buy the stop loss type thing. So if you have your stop loss set at 271, set your reference price. I don't want to galaxy brain this. All right, again, maybe we have another opportunity. It'd be looking like this for now. I think it's still mostly bullshit though. This price action. Yeah, can't help but feel that. Oh my God, CL. Disgusting. That big volume was such a trap. Someone got freaking wrecked. All right, guys, I'm just going to go fill up my coffee. I'll be back in a second here. I'm going to wait out some of this price action, give it a little bit of time to settle because this isn't behaving the right way. Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a lot for me to be interested, I think, in a move here at this point today. All I've seen is trades that gave me setups and maybe went in my direction, but would have cost me money each and every time. So, like, if I'm seeing that as a backdrop, right, and every setup that's come close, or, maybe you're thinking about an entry, it's then giving you a bad signal, faking out, stalling, whatever. And that's all I've seen here so far. Like, why? I don't know if I'd want to actually risk my money now that I've seen that the dealer's playing tricks. No, John, the blue lines here today were just where we wanted to see a breakout, right? We wanted to see a breakout through either the previous high or the previous low. And then when we were looking for that initial trade there to the upside, that 281.50 was the reference price that we were building our position sizing off of. I don't really mark out daily highs and lows with any form of technical analysis. I have them zones, I guess, if you want to call them, right, written down on my screen. Moving average is just set to 20, guys. It's just the default setting. If I'm going to add an extra tool, I'm not adding some complicated variant of it or some Galaxy Brain variant of it. It's just for me to make it a binary event, right? Volume must have two characteristics. It must be increasing volume and it must be outlier volume. Increasing has to happen first. If I have increasing, that increase must be an outlier change. That's it. So all I'm using is a very basic definition of what makes it outlier. That's the 20 most recent volume bars. So it should be larger than the 20 period average. Okay, NQ, bearish engulfing candle, bearish engulfing on volume. Pretty aggressive rejection or reversal. You don't need to change the time frame. You should just keep it at 9:30 to 9:31 because this way on every time frame, it'll use just the first candle of the day. There was no need to change the clock. The first time we're seeing a pullback happen prior to it breaking down. That's maybe a little bit of a personality change here. Not super interested in this yet. It would need to pull back quite a bit, like probably that range. And if I were to be interested in that, I'm probably then looking at high of day as my stop loss. If I'm going to go aggressive, I'm going to really struggle to get sizing here. So now I would have to go aggressive just because I made the lower low. I'm not super interested in that. You're looking at a 238 stop loss on this 5 min. Still so paranoid of the fake out. All we've seen is fake out, fake out, fake out. So like, uh, maybe a dumb analogy, but it's like if you. All right, here's a good one. Okay, so I say I like biking and I mountain bike a lot and crash. Right? I mean, it's pretty much inevitable. I had this crash pretty recently where I was like trying to be clipped in and trying to get comfortable riding clips, and I'm like stuck to my bike and kind of lost a little bit of control. Foot's kind of slipping off a little bit, and I'm dodging trees basically as I'm going down, like trying really hard not to get smacked by a branch or something like that. And at the very end, like I didn't hit any of the trees, didn't have any of this kind of stuff. I ended up like washing out on just like the really basic corner. And it was so disappointing to have then, avoided all of those like really painful possible opportunities to then have still crashed at the very end. That's kind of how I feel about like some of this price action here a little bit here today. I've had a lot of near crashes or a lot of like almost been smacked by a branch. To now then get smacked by a branch by the end of the day would be so infuriating. So like I've done kind of a good job here avoiding. I don't know if the reward of chasing price action that I've seen pretty much just smack me around or smack people around. I don't know if it's worth it. It's terrifying. I've done it like 3 or 4 times now. It does not feel normal yet. I'm not sure if I'll keep doing it. But you do pedal uphill very fast. Yeah, fair enough, Neil. I don't trade using VWAP or the anchored VWAP or those concepts. So unfair for me to comment. Really, the only thing that you could implement from my perspective, right, is I would like to see that act as a setup trigger and not just be like your reason to enter a trade. You using my technique at least, you'd be waiting for a high volume reversal off of that price and then looking for an entry once that occurs. Oh, this seems kind of boring here. Or like I don't feel like there's an easy move yet today, right? I feel like all the moves have been a lot of work and I haven't placed a trade. I have a weird sensation. Again, still looking to see if we can get that high volume separation, right? Lower, ideally, at this point. Rahul, the way that the indicator works, right, is if you set it for 9:30 to 9:33, it waits for the first 3 minutes on any time frame that's less than the 3 min. So if you have it set for the 1 min, it'll be the first candle. If you set it to be the 3 min, then on the 1 or 2 min time frames, the range will be different. Okay, so here we go. Possibly back in play here again. And this time we're probably targeting our 2R range. And ideally, we'd like to see probably the aggressive entry technique here, right? Keep that risk tight. If it does want to pull back, then we need to be within 25 points of our confirmation high. We'll say is like 192. It's a big ask, right? And again, I'm watching this pullback. So just because I'm setting up my order doesn't mean I'm committing to making a decision, right? I'll go 23,217 as my stop loss here. Be a one contract play, and we're looking for time, right? We're not necessarily looking to jump in here right away. We're not looking to be super aggressive or waiting for price action to start to behave the way that we expect. And we're trying to buy ourselves time to do that analysis. Right? So we don't need to be in a rush. If the trade is strong, it'll give us another chance to enter. I don't need to rush this. And guys, if it breaks down without me, no worries either, right? It's got to behave exactly the way that I want, exactly the way that I expect. Otherwise, I'm just setting myself up to be exhausted and annoyed and bitchy and snappy and all those kind of things, right? Anxiety or stress in trading comes when we start to get answers to questions that we didn't know we should have asked or weren't prepared for. So if I want to avoid those things and I want to avoid those surprises, then I just need to be patient. I need to be deliberate. I need to have a very clear picture in my head of what that is. And if I don't have that, then generally, like the first moment where I feel like I should enter a trade is generally still like 30 seconds too early. So I can always generally find a better entry than like my first impulse feeling that this is the time. And I would always rather be too conservative and miss than too aggressive and get stopped out. All I'm doing here, right? I'm buying myself time to make a decision. I'm slowing down. I'm forcing myself to control the dopamine, right? I'm not allowing the P&L potential or the greed or the fear or the whatever to take control. Looking just purely at price action, looking purely at what the market is doing. And I'm trying to see if I can get a clean setup. I'm not super convinced that 192 or above is going to happen for me. Thought for a second there, it kind of looked a little bit like the aggressive was going to be popping off. Okay. Still just watching here, right? I don't feel any particular rush to jump into a trade yet. I think it's hard to suggest that it's still super confident. No problems with the thesis. I'd like to purchase a discount here. So because we're so close to 23,200, right? I want to basically see if that price action acts as a magnet. I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to want to push towards that zone here. So I'd like to see that reaction at that area, right? A little fake out above or a little breakdown, whatever, fine. But if we start to see it act as like a trampoline higher, that would be a no-go situation. I think for now, it's probably a little bit more trampoline than it is breakdown, right? Like, well, there's, okay, maybe eat my words a little bit. Let's see. Okay, candle just closed, decreasing volume, no problem. Still be looking at the pullback entry technique here. Again, being very patient, right? Very deliberate. If I miss it, guys. I don't give a shit. I don't get an entry here, I can just play it again on the aggressive entry technique on this candle or the next candle or whatever. Like, if I miss a trade, it's like taking the bus. There's another one right around the corner. If I hold it against myself that I didn't take something because I didn't follow my rules, I'm a self-sabotaging asshole. Right? Like, I shouldn't be punishing myself for behaving how I said I wanted to behave, right? That's not sustainable. Again, so I'm watching this reaction around 200, right? We've seen price action give us so many mixed signals here this morning. So base assumption is it's going to give me another one until proven otherwise, right? There's no rush. Even though I have my order here set up and even though I'm watching, I'm like, well, before I started that sentence, I was probably like 40% sure maybe I was going to get an entry. Now maybe like 15. Because if I'm being objective, right, and I'm not thinking, okay, I've got a setup on that I could make money. If I were to say what does strong bearish price action look like, not this bullshit. Right? If I'm thinking what's probably the most tilting price action I could lose money in, I would say this is it. Like it's much closer to that than it is to trending PA. Yeah, it's been honestly bullshit market conditions today. Honestly, we had two nice range days, two good follow through days. Then today the market's like, yeah, screw you guys. I want to take everyone's money. So it's almost yeah, I think viewing today as a no trade day, like I wouldn't classify that as the reason why it's a win, Kyle, right? I would classify it as a win because we anticipated those conditions here pre-market. So our prep kind of set us up for that. And then we did a pretty good job, not like falling for the fool's gold, right? Like we trusted our plan here today. We trusted our system. We trusted our technique. That's the win. The outcome itself, it's kind of random, right? At least on a day-to-day basis. The reality though is if we do that 100 days, 70 of them are going to be green. 5 of them you're not going to have a trade, right? And 15 of them maybe you'll have a small red day. And that's how you win long term as a trader, right? So I always want us to view it. So we're not ever owed a trade. We're not ever owed any action on any individual day. The only thing we're owed is the ability to sit and watch. Well, for me, Eric, this probably is not going to be an entry. Like if a trade is going to take 20 minutes to break out from its confirmation candle, that's not a strong reaction, right? That's taken too long, especially within the context of today's conditions, right? We need to see price action that's different than the consolidation or the other bullshit we've basically seen here so far today. And what we've seen here today is candles that stall, don't move, and then kind of like drift into irrelevance. What we want to see here today is confirmations and immediate follow through, right? Quick moves, easy action, because that's opposite to what we've seen from that consolidation PA. So the fact that we're not getting that here today and we've seen everything else stall out kind of invalidates our setup. If our setup doesn't give us that follow through one or two candles, maybe not worth it. Like I'm going to be honest with you, team. I don't see myself placing a trade here. Every setup I have potentially had an opportunity to be in, this one right now included, would have stopped me out. So I'm looking at it here, right, where my stubbornness today, or like my, maybe not stubbornness is the, yeah, nah, I like being stubborn. I think my stubbornness here today has probably kept me from going 0 for 3, maybe 0 for 4. So like, yeah, you know how much worse I would feel right now? Like, I think I can be pretty objective with that. Like, I think I probably would have been stopped out on the vast majority of my trades. So I think to a certain extent, it's kind of a skill to know how to avoid your obvious mistakes. We've done that today. That's a win. I don't care what anyone says. That's a win. Yeah, honestly, just bullshit price action here today, team. I don't see myself being able to mentally, yeah, I don't think I'd be able to mentally accept the change in market conditions here, or I see no logical reason to accept one. I should say, probably a better description. Everything I've seen has been a waste of energy. Nice. Well, glad you made like a decent decision. Probably the only thing I would have done a little bit differently there is because you've seen um, choppy price action here all day. Probably just being more aggressive in that profit target or just protecting it instead of giving it that lottery ticket. Probably the only thing just contextually to add in. But like, yeah, if it just costs you commission fees, like I'm not gonna bitch out too much about that. But yeah, I think that for myself personally, there is no worse feeling than being up and then being stopped out at break even or for a loss. Like I think that that for me is the most tilting price action. And kind of what I've realized is on those scenarios where I feel like I need to push my stop loss to break even to protect myself, I'm kind of subconsciously telling myself that I think my move might either be over or that the easy trade is done. So if I'm kind of like giving myself that little signal in my head mentally, why not just take it at that price instead of waiting for it to pull back? Worst case scenario, you jump back in, right? If it gives you then that breakdown under 280 or whatever, or 180 or whatever it was. But I would always, yeah, I would always prefer that. You're going to make a lot more money closing those full chunks up 27 points, right? Or whatever it is, or 25 points than it is leaving those runners and trying to get that all day follow through. at least from a day trading perspective. When you're swing trading, it's a little bit of a different game. But from a day trader's perspective, you're going to make more money all in, all out. And I don't mean that from a position sizing perspective. I mean that from like not fucking around with partials too much, for lack of a better term. Hey, let go, let Powell, right? The reason I'm not interested in this is because, or this breakout here to the upside, right? I don't really have a very good like profit target. My target here would have to be high of day. I don't know. The juice doesn't feel like it's worth the squeeze for basic price action that I've seen stall out. Like if I'm seeing consolidation, there's no guarantee it's going to stall out here at 284. It could stall out at 264. It could stall out at 274. It could stall out at 244. So I don't know. I'm not super convinced of this being a very strong setup. Confirmation would be great, but I don't view it as a strong enough setup to justify looking for confirmation. So, truth be told here, team, I think I'm probably, yeah, pretty happy to be walking away without a scratch. I don't think I had an edge trading these conditions here today, and I didn't trade them. I think that's a win. Yeah, I mean, it's not a day for us to make money, is what it is. I'll be honest with you guys. I would rather be bored on my ass, sitting on hands, feeling like an idiot for not placing a trade, than I feel better feeling that than I do losing money. I would much rather deal with that as I'd rather the stream be boring than the stream be red. Let's put it that way. That's probably the smooth way of describing it. All right, so I'm going to go final call for questions here, team. I'm going to go final call for questions. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it too, LJ, to be honest. Yeah. Always, Tony, always. So all it is, right, is using Bollinger Bands, right, or something to help you indicate extended price action. And then you're just looking for a bearish confirmation off of the upper Bollinger Bands or a bullish confirmation off of the lower Bollinger Band, right? So you're just looking for this type of candle, right, at the lows, or this type of candle at the high of the confirmation, right? That's all it is. So you're using the Bollinger Bands basically as your breakout target, right? When you're looking for mean reversion, you're looking for breakouts bottom up or top down, right? So confirmation is the same on every single setup and every single type of trade that we take. It'll just be the setup trigger sometimes will be a little bit different. So in this circumstance, right, the setup isn't a breakout through the opening range, right? It isn't a breakout here or a breakdown there. It's a move from outside to inside, right? From outside the Bollinger Bands back inside the Bollinger Bands. And then the confirmation of that move is full body, second most, or normal body, bullish, bearish, and then increasing and outlier volume. Like generally, it's a setup that works a little bit better on, like it's a great play post earnings. Like if you can get that high volume reversal post earnings, sometimes this didn't give you that confirmation signal. That's generally like this the setup opportunity where I like to see it. When you get those environments, it can be pretty interesting. That's the base concept there. All right, anything else? All right, beautiful team. So, same deal like always, right? If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours. I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, looking forward to catching up with a few of you here in our one-on-ones later this afternoon. And hopefully, we'll be back to a normal and reasonable trading day there tomorrow. But this was absolute and complete and utter bullshit price action here today. So glad we avoided it. Didn't really get slapped around here too bad. And yeah, gonna go enjoy. Well, it looks like to be a pretty gray and miserable morning. So we'll be back at it again tomorrow, team. And I'll see you then. Peace.